Hi, everybody. So we got Buddy Cat came to class today. Some of you might know Buddy Cat, maybe from video, but some of you probably have met Buddy Cat. I know, like, one person I think is even responsible. I think someone's here today that was responsible for bringing Buddy Cat into our lives. So he's a good old cat. He is, don't tell him I said he was old, but he's about 19 years old, and he's a really good cat. He just kind of walked in a couple minutes before the stream started. So yeah, welcome. Buddy says welcome. He might now not want to move off my lap, which will be sad, um, but yeah, let's do some movement. So I put up in the chat and on there to grab some sort of blanket or pillow so that you can lie on your side and your head won't be just like totally hanging down to the floor. So I just have a folded up blanket here. You could use like a couch pillow or something, or grab a blanket if you have that. And then we're going to say bye to Buddy Cat. He's going to find a little place to go take a nap, probably. He does that a lot these days. Bye, Buddy Cat. We'll see. He might want to stay in the shot. Um, okay, so we're going to come onto your side. And then have your head on your blanket, your arm out in front of you, and just feel like you can fully relax here. And my knees are up, kind of like I'm sitting in a chair. This could take a while. So my knees are pretty bent. And then I'm going to take my top hand on top of the other hand. So let's start first just with tracing your fingers. Now, hopefully you can get your fingers on the floor, but if you can't, that's okay too. But see how long you can trace your fingers and leave them on the floor as your arm reaches overhead. Now, if your fingers start to come up a little bit, that's okay. But if you can, leave them on the floor until your arm is all the way over your head and you're getting that nice side stretch through your body. And then trace your fingers back down and onto your other hand. We'll take that again, reaching out, little nudge to Buddy Cat to reach all the way overhead. And like nice long side stretch all the way down to your hip and then coming back down. And then, like I said, as you reach over, maybe your fingers come off the floor. If your shoulders are a little tighter, that's okay. And you're just kind of reaching and opening and letting that stretch however much it does, even if your arm is off the floor. And then just find the floor again whenever you can. Now we're going to try adding a leg into that. So as my fingers go to the floor, my top leg and my toes are going to reach out in opposition. So as I get to the very end, I have a nice long stretch from my fingers to my toes all the way through my side body. My underneath body is kind of lifted up and then bringing all that back in. And taking that a couple times, reaching. Inhale and find that long reach through the whole side body and bring it back in. You could like bend your elbow a little bit too. Sometimes that feels better. And then reaching. And then bring it back in. Okay, so then let's go back to this hand-to-hand place again. Then we're just going to take that into some rotation. So I'm going to start with this hand coming across. So it comes across my forearm and to my shoulder. And then it just keeps going across my collarbones and opens up to the floor on the other side. And I'm looking up at the ceiling. So now I'm in a big twist. My knees don't have to stay perfectly still, but I leave my hips pretty much where they are. I'm not going to roll my pelvis onto the mat. Then I'm going to come back in. I'm going to start with these back fingers. For me, it's my right hand, curling in, and then my wrist curling in, my elbow bending, and then collarbone to collarbone, and all the way back hand to hand. And I'm lying on my side again. So play with that movement a couple times, rolling back, trace your arm across your body, open it up till you're twisted. And then curling from your fingers in, your wrist, your elbow, fingers trace across your collarbone to your other collarbone to your hand. And then two more. Inhale and exhale. And inhale And exhale. And last one, inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Now, we're just going to do one more thing here, and that's going to be to combine those two things. So starting to trace your arm overhead, and then if your fingers stay on the floor, that's just fine. If they come off, that's just fine. Opening out to the twist. And then same thing, coming back, reaching up and over and rolling back, hand over hand. So that time I took my fingers a little off the floor as I did it because it didn't feel great on my shoulder when I left them off the floor. So that's something to really pay attention to. Like, this feels good, this feels good. Right about here, it feels a little better to let my arm lift as I open, and I hold it up a little bit off the floor. And then once I get to the twist, I can set it down. And then maybe lift it a little bit up, and then up and over, and back hand to hand. Try it one more time. And all the way back down. And then just relax everything. And then use your hand to push up to sitting. And then we'll change to the other side. So take the blanket over to the other side. And then knees are bent into you, however far is comfortable. And then my head's going to be a little weird because I have a microphone headset in this side. So you don't have to turn your head up. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit so I don't hit that microphone so much. Let's see if I can kind of settle in. So hand over hand, if you can get it there. And so we start with the straight up overhead side bend. And for me, I can keep my fingers on the floor, but I do feel like a big lift in my ribs to do it, right? If my ribs stay all the way down, I can't keep my fingers on the floor. So you can really reach and find that big side bend there as you go to keep your fingers on the floor. That's just fine. And then if your hand comes off, that's fine too. And two more. Inhale, reach up. And exhale. And inhale. And bring it in. Then we're going to add the leg. So the leg reaches straight out. So finger to toes, long reach, long side bend. My underneath waist is off the mat. And then back in. And a couple of those. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. Relax your neck. Keep your head heavy. Last one. And bring it in. Okay, so now we go into the twist. Top hand comes across, and I just like rub my forearm and rub my upper arm and rub my collarbones until I go all the way into that open twist. And then I work through the hand. Fingers curl in, wrist curls in, elbow curls in, collarbone, collarbone, arm, elbow, forearm, and then back hand to hand. So a couple of those. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now you notice I didn't say both my shoulder blades are on the floor. They're not actually as I open. You don't have to have both shoulder blades flat. They may or may not be. They could, and your knees would come up. If that's more comfortable, that's okay. There's a lot of ways to kind of explore this. It's also just fine to let your shoulder be off the floor. And one more. And then we combine those two actions. So you start to trace the arm up overhead. some point, maybe the arm comes off the floor, you start to open, the chest opens, and you make it around to that arm on the floor. Then if you know that it's better on your shoulder to lift it here. Hand comes up a little bit, and then up overhead, and then back, and fingers to the floor. And a couple of those. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And there's that movement in the rib cage to the side bend too. Let your waist lift a little, that's just fine. And last one of these. Okay. And then relax here and push yourself up to sitting. Okay, so we're going to play with this movement a little bit standing, one of these movements coming up to standing. So find your way up however you like. You can slide the blanket off to the side. We don't need that. And then set up with your feet parallel, so toes pointing forward, like your feet are two parallel lines. When we say parallel, I often mean that, the right parallel to each other. And kind of wider than hip distance, just like a comfortable movement. And then let's see if we can get that kind of like toe to armpit to pinky finger we felt on the floor when you were reaching through the foot. So I'll trace it on this side, pinky toe side, up the side of the body, all the way through the obliques, the armpit, and up to the pinky finger, right? That sort of feeling. I think it's kind of nice to like trace it and like feel that right there. So see if you can find that feeling. I'll stay with this arm. And then we're going to keep that and do the reach up. That foot's going down as I start to reach over to the side. So the foot is down, but just like I did on the floor, like I was trying to reach my fingers over to the floor again, and I get into that little bit of bend in the waist, and then back to center. And then the foot stays down and the pinky side reaches up, and that nice long open armpit, reaching over and out. Nice easy neck was resting on the blanket. Here we are. And back to center. Now we're going to add a little push from the foot. So the foot is going to push, so I end up shifting my balance a little bit. So I'm going to find reach up and over. And then as I start to reach a little more, I'm going to push this left foot. So I end up on my right foot and I have that long reach. You don't have to take this foot off, but just to show you, I don't really have weight on that foot. Long reach from finger to toe and then back down. And long reach over, push from your foot. You're standing now on your right leg as you reach over. If you wanted, you could play with lifting that foot up. One more. And then back to center. And relax all that. Other arm goes up. Little trace, pinky finger down to your toe, like find that line. That's the line we're trying to connect to. All right. Then you have a reach up, and for the first one, you push your foot down. Feel the foot down as the arm reaches up. Feel that whole side body connecting. And then as you reach over to the side, like your fingers were on the floor, like trying to find the floor again, keep your foot pushing down. Feel the opposition and get that long reach. And back to center. And then foot down, pinky up, reaching out, out, easy neck, connection through the side body, and back to center. Now we'll add the foot if you want, reaching over, and if it feels comfortable in your balance, push through your right foot. So you're standing on your left foot, and then back to center, and reaching over, push through the foot, feel your balance on your left foot, and back to center, and reaching over, and center, and reaching over and back to center. And then take your arms down. Okay, so we haven't really done any traditional Pilates yet, have we? Um, but the side body, one of the things I find about the side body is when I get that really engaged, then I actually get better just sort of movement and breath and work through the front body. So a lot of times in Pilates, we talk about breathing through the side ribs and opening the side ribs to get a full breath so that you can keep the abdominals working. So one thing that happens when we open up the side body more is that breath can move and I can actually work here better. But also working with the side body line can really help integrate like a more three-dimensional um, use of all the muscles so that sometimes if I do too much just like forward and back, and this is just not really connected, it's like I am a front and a back and I'm not a side. When I bring that side in, it's like it connects those two things and actually get better support for this front and back movement just by doing a little work here. So let's get to the floor again and do some of that work. So let's start on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the floor and your arms up to the ceiling. So we're getting into the 100 basically. So think about the side body that now maybe runs from your pinky finger through your side body and like out your sits bones. Like your sits bones could move towards your heels, just kind of that imagery and that length. And in this position right here, think about breathing through your side ribs. See if you can feel some space through there. As you exhale, think of engaging in your abdominals a little bit. And maybe you even feel the breath travel all the way down to your sits bones through your side body. Next time you exhale, we're going to take the head up. And imagine you exhale out your sits bones, you draw your belly in, nice long reach through the side of the body. One leg up, second leg up, legs together, pinky toes lengthen out. We start the 100. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe through the side ribs. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Imagine that long feeling from your armpit to your sits bones. One more time. And then bend your knees in and rest your head. And bring yourself up to sitting. Okay, so let's see what that imagery is like for you in some of the rolling up and down movements. So, armpit to pinky toe is one way to think of that length. And then we could add in belly to big toes and inner thighs. So we could feel both legs really reaching out, a connection from your belly out through your big toes. And then this sense of like nice long reach through the side body too. So that image right there, let's start with that. Bending your knees slightly, draw your legs together from your belly. Think of your big toes, like a little bit of workout through that ball of the big toe as the belly draws back. And then imagine you have this nice long sense through your IT bands out your pinky toes. And then see what it's like to feel that energy forward as your belly pulls back, as you roll backwards. Breathing, just take the breaths however you need to. And then coming up and back to sitting. So play with that just a couple times. Now I rolled 3/4 of the way down. Maybe you roll halfway down. Maybe you hold onto your legs a little. That's kind of helpful sometimes. Belly back through that kind of long reach forward. If you feel pretty good and you want to try the full roll up, that can be really great too. You could get all the way into that long feeling from your pinky finger to your pinky toe as your arms reach back overhead. And then imagine you keep all that. And exhale, drawing the belly in through the center, rolling forward, rolling back down. And exhale, long sides of the body. Inhale, wide ribs. Exhale, belly in. And two more, however you're playing with it. And into sitting up. So next time you're sitting up, okay, so let's see if we can kind of keep working with that sense of like legs lengthen forward, belly draws in, this nice length through the side body. So you're going to bend one knee and take the other leg reaching straight out. And so it's that leg reaching forward, right, that has the inner thigh and the outer thigh really long and forward. It's going to be all the way straight. I'm going to hold behind my right leg. I have my right leg doing this. And then I'm going to start this rolling back. Same thing we just did, basically. The leg reaches forward. Inner thigh on the left leg reaches forward. Side of the body reaches forward. Rolling back down. Now on the way up, I want that imagery through the left leg. On the right leg, I could think of it being the sits bone reaching forward a little more, right? All the way from there through that side body. And take that one more time. It's almost like my right side is doing that 100 imagery, and the left side is doing the roll-up imagery. Just in case it wasn't complicated enough for you. Make your one side doing the 100 and the other side doing the roll-up. So reaching out through the one leg, drawing your belly back, reaching through the sits bone on the other leg, rolling back. Especially here, sits bone forward and coming back. And all the way up. Okay, so let's do just a little more lying on your side. Now, I don't think I need a blanket for this next one lying on my side, but you could bring it back if that feels better on your neck. So if you want to bring your blanket pillow out again, you can. I'm going to do it with my arm all the way flat out and my head resting on my arm, and that feels fine in my body. So that's how you could do it. And then we're going to take the feet a little bit forward, your body lined up with the back edge of your mat, and your head just resting down on your arm or on your blanket here. Now we're going to work kind of with that same thing we did earlier, but we're just going to bring more strength into it. Like when we were on the floor in the beginning, it was more stretch. This is going to be a little more of the strength piece. So you're going to take your arm overhead and keep it in line with your shoulder. So my palm is facing down towards the floor, and I'm not letting my hand go too low. So I'm going to keep it like in line with my shoulder, maybe even slightly above that. And I feel my abdominals coming on to do it. And then I'm going to take this top leg up slightly, reach it back so it's in line with the body, and then feel just a long reach from my pinky toe to my pinky finger, using the belly, little bit of lift in the underneath waist. And then both those things are just going to come up slightly and then back down. I'm going to try to keep my leg parallel. I think I turned it out a little. And back down. And the inhale, float it a little up and back down and a little up and back down. Now, if you wanted even a little more challenging, you could try bring the head up with it a little. It's very hard. And back down. Sometimes I have ideas and then I try them and I think, oh, that's really hard. And up and down. And keeping that long reach as you go. And last one. Now we're going to keep the head down. Take your hand behind your head or on the floor in front of you, whichever is more comfortable. Top leg is now going to go forward and back with that same feeling, really stable. Using your abdominals. Nice engagement through both sides, really. Both obliques are working. So I could think of my left leg reaching out a little bit from the belly, and then for sure my right leg reaching. Two more. And then bringing your legs together and relaxing here. And then bring yourself up to sitting and onto your other side. So foot is a little on the front edge, butt is back on the back edge. Arm all the way out on the floor. And so even in this position here, like I have just a little bit of space between my bottom waist and the mat. I'm not just collapsed down in. I've started already like pulling that up, like I was tightening my belt and pulling the waist a little bit off the mat there. Not a ton, but just a little bit. And then let's take the top arm, reach it overhead to about your shoulder height or wherever is comfortable in your body. And think of the ribs drawing together. See if you can feel that sense of your side obliques coming on there. And if you can't, you might feel it as soon as we get the leg in. So bring the leg up, reach it back so it's in the same line as your body. That's a little bit of a balance exercise, right? So I want to try to hold that balance from my abdominals, not tipping my shoulders forward or back, not tipping my pelvis forward or back. And then just a little up and down. You're going to feel the outer hip, the glute medius and minimus. Hopefully the obliques on the left side, maybe a little bit of tricep, maybe into the serratus anterior muscles. And you might think, let me try that head lift. What's that like? Just a little more movement there. One more. Okay, so a little harder on the balance is to put your hand behind your head. Sometimes it feels a little better to just put that hand down and have some stability as the leg goes forward and back. Same thing, not letting your hips go forward and back, not letting your shoulders go forward and back. A little bit of lift in the waist. Couple more. A couple means 4 for me, evidently. Last one. And then legs together and relax. Okay, and then bring yourself up to sitting. So I'm gonna pass it off to the second half of the dynamic duo here, Mr. Anderson. And yeah, we'll do some yoga movements with that, see where he takes us.
Hi, everybody. So let's begin on hands and knees. And then on hands and knees, take a moment to feel your hands evenly weighted on the floor. And not just the weight even from left hand to right hand, but within each hand, as much weight on the forefinger side of your hand as there is on your little finger side of your hand. So once you feel the weight evenly distributed across each hand, evenly distributed from right hand to left hand, then turn your toes under and lift your knees and hips. And here we are in yoga pose, head down dog. Letting your head hang, we'll take a few breaths here. Little deeper in breath, little longer out breath. So perhaps you're thinking to yourself, okay, this theme of side body, well, I guess Anderson's just going to go his own way and completely forget about that theme. And come on down. Not quite. So that imagery of weighting your hands evenly, we're now going to expand upon that, build on that. So let's reconnect, hands on the floor. And then keeping that weight distribution, coming up into head down dog. And then if you're not sure what the words mean, you can always watch. And right between your shoulder blades, broaden that space. And to broaden upper back, I feel my arms rotating. And there's a name for that kind of arm rotation. It's called external arm rotation. Now, oftentimes when people externally rotate their arms, what happens in the hands? Yep, you guessed it. The weight tends to shift to the pinky side, doesn't it? So to help tease apart restrictions in the upper body, broaden your upper back by externally rotating your arms. And at the same time, keep the hands even weight distribution. And we'll hold here for a few of those slower, deeper breaths. And step your feet forward, right up to your hands. Reach the crown of your head forward. We call this gorilla. And then with the next inhale, fold. Let your head hang. Then remember that tone of the belly. With the exhale, rise up and use your belly to articulate your spine. Arms all the way up, chin to. Arms then to the side. So let's extend that idea. So we were talking about an arm rotation. So taking your left arm forward. And most of us, when we take the arm forward, the elbow kind of points out to the side, doesn't it? So revolve your tip of your elbow to face down toward the floor. So that's that same arm rotation we did in dog pose, isn't it? So see if you can keep that external arm rotation. Big deep inhale here. Keep that arm rotation as you exhale up. Inhale back down. Take a sneak peek as your elbow tip more or less facing down. Keep that external rotation as you exhale up. Inhale down. One more like that. So same thing you did already, except now we're adding in this arm rotation. And releasing that arm down. All right, so now let's take a look at the other side. So most people, this is the dominant arm, right arm. So external arm rotation takes the tip of the elbow from facing to the side to more facing toward the floor. The best you can, keep that external rotation. As you exhale up, inhale down. 2 more. And this can be useful to help strengthen your rotator cuff, the rotator cuff in the shoulder. And releasing that arm down. And stepping your feet wide apart. Turn your left foot in and then your right foot out. So with the next out breath, bend your knee. And with the next in breath, straighten your knee. It's going to go up and down a few more times like this. Now our focus tends to be the knee, but maybe you've already noticed that your hip socket articulates, is mobilized, as is your ankle. Couple more. Buddy cat just made eye contact. So next time, knee in the bent position, pausing there. Looks like Buddy changed his mind. Then with the next out breath, tip your hips and bring your elbow to knee and your left hand on your hip. So maybe you're already feeling how your side body is elongating. Now to help connect those dots, bring your left arm forward. Sweep your left arm through. And we'll take a few breaths here. Then ride the inhale up. Turn back to the front. Now the second side, turn your right foot in, your left foot out. Exhale, bending, ankle, hip, and knee. Inhale, straight. It's a nice way to mobilize the key joints in your lower extremities. So next time ankle, hip, and knee are flexed, pause there. Stay here for an inhale, deeper in breath. Exhale, tip your hips. Elbow to knee, hand on your hip. Now take that right arm forward. Transcribe a big arc, sweep it through. Few breaths here. Ride the inhale up. Turning back to the front. And then stepping your feet together. So now bring both arms forward, just like you're holding a beach ball. With your hands about beach ball width apart, externally rotate your arms, such that the tips of your elbows more face toward the floor. Feel how that opens your upper back. So use that space, fill it with the inhale. Now with the exhale, raise your beach ball up. Couple of breaths here. And lower your beach ball down. And step your feet wide apart. Turn your left foot in, your right foot out. Let's do 3 movements. Exhale, triple flexion. Inhale, coming up. And keeping your knee bent for the duration of the in-breath. Tipping your hips with the out-breath. So elbow to knee, hand on your hip. We'll pause here for a moment to explore that continuity from your back foot, left heel, clear through to the crown of your head. Then maintaining that continuity, the weight that you're leaning into your elbow, reducing that weight. And then if you want a whole lot more challenge, you could outstretch that right arm. Deep breathing. Inhale, come up. Turning back to the front. Second side, turn your right foot in and your left foot out. Down and up 3 times. Now with your knee bent, pausing there for a breath cycle. Tip your hips. So we end up torso at a diagonal. But once you have a sense that your back foot and the crown of your head are continuity, then the degree to which you're leaning into the front elbow, you could reduce. And if you'd like a lot more challenge, you could reduce it to 0. Inhale up. Turning back to the front. And then stepping your feet together. So now we're going to do a partial sun salutation to make our way to the floor. Remember we talked a little bit about creating space in your upper back between your shoulder blades? So as you stand here, this is not an instruction to round your shoulders forward. Not that exaggerated. It's simply to let your upper back relax and open up. And into that space between your shoulder blades, divert the next inhale. And with the exhale, sweep your arms up, let your chin float up too. Then with the inhale, fold. Exhale, gorilla. And then with the inhale, stepping back, head down dog. We'll take a few breaths here. Remember how we talked about weight distribution on the hands? Talked about opening the upper back by rotating the arms. Deep breathing. And then coming down to your knees. And then into a seated position. So in seated, with your knees bent, your feet flat upon the floor. And then sitting up tall, head held high. So the side of the body, if you imagine a candy cane or a barber pole, we can also look at the diagonals that wrap around the torso. So to help work with those diagonals, take your left foot forward. And then bring your right foot up and over. And both hands catch that right knee, recharging sitting up tall. Then in a moment, what we're going to do is turn to the right. So it could either be that left hand on the knee, or if you have longer arms, you could maybe hook your knee with your elbow and turning to the side. Deep breathing. And turning back toward the middle, back to the reset starting position. And then take your right foot forward, bring your left foot up and over. Now to your right hand. So for some people, it might be hand on the knee. Other people, it may be elbow catching the knee. And then turning to your left. Deep breathing. And then coming back toward the middle and back to the reset position. So now we'll continue that thread, but working a little bit more directly with the side body as it relates to the spiral fascia line. This time, bring your left foot under. Both hands catch the free knee, sitting up tall. And now turning to your right. Again, it could be left hand comes across, maybe left elbow hooks, other hand behind. Deep breathing. And then turning back toward the middle. Both knees bent, both feet flat, excuse me, upon the floor. And now then the second side. Bring your right leg under. Both hands catch the left knee. So sorry for all these lefts and rights. Right hand comes across, left hand behind. Deep breathing. And then turning back toward the middle. And back to the reset position. All right. So let's explore in yoga the side plank. So in Sanskrit called Vashisthasana. So let's start off, and remember we're mirror image. So how about if you're on your left side, I'm on my right side. You probably see that I have my forearm on the mat, and I have one foot stacked on top of the other foot. Then I have my free hand in front. And then just like you worked with Collette a little bit earlier, see if you can keep that alignment in your torso. As you now lighten that lower hip on the floor. It doesn't necessarily have to lift all the way up, but lighten it. We'll take a few more breaths here, and then come on down. How'd that go? Kind of easy? Oh, it's not easy, is it? So torso lined up, hip over hip, shoulder over shoulder, foot on top of foot. So for most of us, what it is it's lightening the hip. It's not resting as heavily on the floor. And it may be lightening to the point where it lifts. Couple breaths here. And then come on down. And let's switch it up. Other side. So resting on your forearm, foot on top of foot, hip on top of hip, shoulder stacked atop shoulder, ease in your neck. Then lightening your hip, maybe to the point where it lifts, holding, 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 coming down. Couple of breaths here. And then lifting, keep that breathing going. I want to hold here for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming down. And coming back up to sitting. Taking both legs out in front. With your arms down, start with a deep inhale. Remember how we filled the upper back. And exhale, arms to the side, up. Inhale, folding forward. So hips fold, hip flexion, but also spine rounding. And to continue that flexion of your spine, including your neck. So rather than looking forward, looking down. 5 deep breaths. And then coming up. And then reclining on your back. Now it could be on the floor. Could be on a sofa. Could be on your bed. So in addition to where you recline, we have the additional variable. You keep your knees bent, which is personally my preference. Or if you find it more relaxing, you could outstretch your legs. So take a little bit of time here to get comfortable. Maybe you're using that pillow under your head again. Maybe you placed an additional pillow under your knees. And then if you feel comfortable doing so, closing your eyes. And I'm going to choose personally to come up to sitting to walk you through the guided relaxation. So whether your eyes are opened or closed, begin by inviting awareness to the crown of your head. And more often than not, what we find is that it's like the scalp is squeezing the skull. So explore what it may feel like to relax your scalp. And then let that sense of relaxation descend downward now to include your forehead, your temples, your ears, including your face, jaw, and neck. So continuing to descend awareness downward from your neck now into your shoulders, and into your arms, wrists, and hands. So from your hands, arms, and shoulders, invite awareness down into your torso, your chest, upper back, belly, and lower back. Your torso, including your pelvis. From your torso down into your thighs, your knees, lower legs, ankles, and feet. With the sense of the entirety of your body, from the crown of your head down to the soles of your feet, with that sense of your whole body. If you've closed your eyes, now opening your eyes. And then as you feel ready, coming up to sitting. All right. So how was that? Side of your body? Pretty key to posture, isn't it? So just like Collette mentioned, we very often focus on the front and the back. And the whole includes right side, left side. So really glad that you could join us here today. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to type them into the chat. And if you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, if you can just go right down below the screen, there's that red subscribe button. If you haven't hit that already, please do. We love it when you and we can keep in touch with each other. And if you haven't checked out our offerings, please do so on pilatesonharrison.com or scottandersonyoga.com. We have a lot of classes each week that are part of our subscription service. Unlimited access to all our classes. Super glad we could do this today. Any comments, questions in the chat?
Not necessarily. Someone mentioned that she really felt the difference between her two sides, and it was difficult.
Yeah, so it sounds like somebody's noting they feel a difference from the two sides, and a lot of the times that we do. And sometimes it's about our handedness, left hand, right hand. And sometimes it's showing us that there's some room for improvement here, and that could maybe support a healthier neck or a healthier back. So thanks for pointing that out. Let's do this again really soon. We do it every Saturday, free class, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time.